Okay, it's Matt Roberts reporting live for a fourth time, trying to get a link up with Adrian Stranick for tonight's interview. I think this is the last time we're going to try on mine, and then he's going to go live on his page, and I'm going to try and join the chat. So we're not quite sure what's happening. Let's see what happens here today. So Adrian Stranick, a legendary guitarist, singer, songwriter, frontman of the Broadway Twisters. We did that pitch before, and we're hoping he can join this video. We really are hoping. Adrian, if you're out there, press the join button. Are you there? I'm going to see if not everybody, Adrian's going to go live and I'm going to try and join his chat. So we'll still get the interview, we hope. So Adrian, Adrian would like to be in your video. I'm adding him. Is this going to work? I'm adding him. It's counting down. Come on. So it's almost going to work, Adrian. Connecting. Yes!
What a palaver.
What a palaver, but we did it.
What a palaver, yeah.
We did it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Adrian Stranick. How are you,
Hello.
sir?
I'm fabulous, thank you for asking.
Yeah, it's lovely to finally catch up with you after the fourth attempt. So welcome, everybody. So Mr. Adrian Stranick, for those of you watching on YouTube and Facebook, legendary singer-songwriter, frontman of the Broadway Twisters. But before we get into all of that sort of stuff, how are you getting through the lockdown and this crazy time we're living in?
What do you think? This is the most
Well, I can see.
This is the most period I've ever experienced.
More importantly than that, I can see a fabulous record collection. But you've got a fabulous record collection behind you there, so.
Yeah, I never got rid of my vinyl. When CDs came in the 80s, I just rebought everything, so I've still got all my vinyl. That never went anywhere.
This is why you're a legend. So I'm glad to hear that you and your family are all safe. So Adrian Stranick, thank you for coming on here and doing an interview. So we're going to ask you about your life, your music, your art, your influences. Take us back to the very start when you first started taking an interest in music and when you first thought, you know what, I'm going to get up and have a go. The very start.
Well, I had I suppose I had a bit of a false start, really. When I was about 8 or 9, I guess I was listening to the Sweet. Because in my school, you had, there was like 4 factions. If you were a boy, it was Slater Sweet. And if you were a girl, it was the Jackson 5 or the Osmonds. So I was a Sweet boy.
Right.
So I listened to, I really liked them, as a kid, but that kind of like, they sort of faded away and we stopped listening to them. So I didn't listen to any music really for a few years until I was sort of like middle of my teens. And then I think I was a kid at school was playing piano, and I remember thinking, it'd be great if I could just pick up an instrument and play it. And he was just playing all this boogie-woogie stuff. So I started getting the idea about playing a guitar, and I think it was the solo of Peggy Sue that was always the thing that got me kind of. I love that sound, you know what I mean? I thought, I thought, I wonder, so I just really wanted to be able to play that, one song, and I thought it would take years and years and years. And I got a case catalogue out of my mum's, mum's catalogue. It was like £13.50 guitar, and started learning guitar. And once I'd mastered that, within a couple of weeks, it was I've been playing ever since to various degrees of competency.
And so we got Alicia watching and Clive. So hello, Clive.
Hello, Alicia and Clive.
Yeah.
Whoever you are.
Well, it's Alicia, the artist herself, and Clive from Silverstone. So that's
we've probably crossed swords, or maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you know Clive.
Clive,
So anyway,
right.
yeah, Clive.
Oh, Clive.
Clive.
You know what?
No, don't worry.
I've had too many of these, I think.
Don't worry.
Right,
So anyway, so you were very influenced by Buddy Holly. And do you remember, like, your first? When are we talking about, sort of era-wise? Do you remember getting in your first band? And can you tell us a bit about that? What was happening when you were first coming through?
Well, I was at school, so I was like sort of 15, 16, and we sort of started a band. Never gigged, but it was me on guitar and a guy called Ollie Campbell on bass. Now, he was a black guy in a school that was predominantly black kids. There was only like one other white kid in my class, so most of the kids were into reggae and soul and, whatever. but he
Yeah.
looked like Chuck Berry, and he loved rhythm and blues and old rock and roll. So he was my guy. So me and him started a band, kind of, but he never got beyond the bedroom, basically. We had a drummer and stuff. So that was the very first thing I ever did while I was still at school. Then I moved to Milton Keynes, left school, moved to Milton Keynes, and the first band I was ever in was a band called The Offbeat. We didn't know if we wanted to be the Jam or the Clash. So we had a guy called Dave. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I started being Joe Strummer, and he started being, he had the Rickenbacker. In fact, it's right here. I'd say his actual Rickenbacker. I bought it off him.
Wow.
£50. I know.
Let me stop you there. That's a great story. So you're telling me you've got the Rickenbacker from the early '80s when you were in this band. This is the kind of thing why these interviews are great. So Adrian's first band. Wow.
Little Head. I hate those big head ones that they brought out a bit later. That's a proper.
Yeah, that's definitely that's about 1980. That one is maybe 79.
Yeah.
So anyway,
go on.
No, so you guys were in a band together, and you were kind of doing the Joe Strummer bit, and he was doing the Weller bit.
Yeah, I had the Telecaster, so I was being Strummer. He looked like Paul Weller. He thought he was Paul Weller. He had the jam shoes, he had everything, and the suits, and he had the Rickenbacker. So he was Paul Weller. I was Joe Strummer, and we did basically Clash and jam numbers. Really, we called The Offbeat, and played. We did quite a few gigs in Milton Keynes. Up to about, I think we split up in like '83 or something. But it was good. Yeah, it was. What a great place to start.
It was a good formative years, and I mean, Adrian, that's an incredible time to be alive as well, absorbing all that music from the late '70s, early '80s. At the time, did it feel like you were in the midst of a very important part of British music, or was it you were just doing your thing?
No, not really, because I hated the '80s. It kind of seemed to dip pretty quick. By the time I started listening to, because when I was in London in the late '70s, I was a rockabilly. So that meant you didn't have anything in your record collection that was recorded after 1960. They're very clear on those kind of rules, and that's it.
Is that how the rules work then? So nothing after 1960?
More or less, yeah. You just didn't have anything in your collection, which is why I got rid of all my old Sweet records, which of course I regret now. I wish I hadn't more. But really bought more on CD, But at the time, it was like the late '70s. We were rockabillys. That was it. Then I moved to Milton Keynes and started being a bit more open-minded, and so that led naturally, I guess, to the Jam, Costello, the Clash, and all those sort of bands. And so in the very early '80s, it was great. All those kind of Susan the Banshees was doing great stuff then, and all the rest of it. And all of a sudden, almost overnight, it went sort of a bit Adamant, Gary Newman. And then the synth pop thing kicked in, and it was just, I kind of hated it. So then I started kind of casting my net further back and going back to listening to like the '50s stuff, but also a lot of the '60s, like sort of garage punk bands and all those American bands that were trying to be the Rolling Stones, all that Pebble stuff and Nugget stuff, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Great.
Love all that. Yeah, love all that.
It's great stuff. So, I mean, while we're talking about this period, we should just mention that because you do like the Jam. And you recently wrote for a book because you were at the last ever Jam gig. Is that right?
I was at the last 3 ever Jam gigs. I went to there was a couple of nights at Wembley, the first and the third. I did 5 nights, and then at the end of that was the beginning of the last tour, and then at the end of the tour they did Birmingham, Guildford, and we had tickets for it. I thought, great, last gig, Guildford, brilliant. And then at the last minute, they added Brighton. It was like, oh my God.
The famous Brighton date, yeah.
I know. It was like, so we had to find someone. So luckily we knew someone that lived in Brighton, and they managed to get tickets for the last gig. So I ended up seeing the last 3 gigs they ever played. And yeah.
So there's and if you do want to read about this more in depth, there's a book out which I've got, which Adrian contributes quite a lot to, called. It's called I Was. Is it called I Was There or I Was?
I think it was the Jam. Yeah, I was there, or the gig the day I was there.
The day I was there. Yeah, no. So that's fantastic. So getting back to your own music, and at what point did you start sort of getting the desire to write songs and really get into it yourself? How did that sort of come about?
again, that's a Buddy Holly thing. As soon as one of the things that's attractive about Buddy Holly is, or one of the first things you understand about him when you start listening to him, is he was one of the few artists that was writing their own material.
He was at that time, yeah.
And being in a self-contained band. I mean, obviously, Chuck Berry was writing his own material. Eddie Cochran was writing his own material, but they weren't in self-contained bands. Which sort of kind of predated what the Beatles were going to do a few years later. Which is why when the Beatles went over to America, I know like Muhammad Ali and people would make snotty comments about Ringo's drumming, but to be honest, they were a real band. They were all the members of the band. Normally when you bought an American record, it was all session musicians. All the Motown guys, it was the same band, but it was different singers.
Yeah.
All the Wrecking Crew stuff, all the Phil Spector stuff, the Ron X would go out on the road, but they'd have like a backup band, you know what I mean? So that was the thing that kind of got me interested about Buddy Holly. They were a self-contained unit. Not only did they write their own stuff, but they played on their own records as well, which a lot of bands didn't, which is what made the Beatles so interesting to Americans, because it's like, oh, these guys actually play on their own records. The Byrds, their first records was all session musicians. The Monkees, we all know they were session musicians.
Yeah.
That's what made them so interesting. So I think it was really Buddy Holly that got me interested in writing songs. So like everybody else, I wrote like really awful kind of crappy love songs that are sort of meant to be like sort of Buddy Holly pastiche, but they're awful, So, but we all
had those formative years, Adrian. They're formative years.
You have to write a million words of rubbish before you even start writing anything kind of half decent. You know what I mean?
It's Buddy Holly. Very true, very true. And so sort of going on sort of the mid-'80s, did you start having a vehicle for your songwriting? Were you just Adrian Stranick, or did you?
No, we started a band called we started a band called Milk Plus.
Yeah.
Which was kind of really influenced more by books. Obviously Clockwork Orange and J.G. Ballard and people.
J.G. Ballard.
Yeah.
This is very cool. This is very cool. So carry on. So it's influenced by some great writers.
Yeah, like lyrically, we were more sort of influenced by books than we were artists. Because it was, like I say, for me in the '80s, there wasn't really a lot that I liked. It was. I definitely felt like a man out of time, and it really wasn't my era at all. So I started sort of trying to look for other sources of influence. I still wanted to play. I still wanted to be a musician of some kind, but I was looking for something else because it wasn't music that was really inspiring me. It was like people like J.G. Ballard. That's why I had a song called You, Me, Coma and Marilyn Monroe, which is virtually the title of a chapter from the Atrocity exhibition. We had another one, I think it was called Love and Napalm, USA. I think there's a cassette, which is another chapter. So that was a very sort of ballad influence. But I've since found out there's a lot of bands from the '80s that were influenced by.
I mean, he was very Joy Division, yeah.
Joy Division. That Grace Jones track, which was originally, was it by Wire, that Warm Leatherette?
No, that was by Daniel Miller, who was the founder of Mute, wasn't it? And it had TVOD and Warm Leatherette. And what was the vehicle he released it under? It was a 7-inch, wasn't it?
I can't. I thought it was Wire, but it was somebody like.
Yeah, it was basically Daniel Miller. It was Warm Leatherette and TVO, and that was all ballad influenced, and obviously, so even like people like the Human League
magazine,
yeah,
magazine. Shot both sides.
The Normal, that's it. Clive, yes.
The Normal,
How
that's
did I
it,
not
yes.
know that? The Normal.
The Clive
yeah,
that's that. Brilliant, yeah.
Do you know what, Clive? I've got the 45 in my studio of The Normal. So I mean, and I've got a copy of Crash. I've got a copy of J.G. Ballard's Crash book next to the Normal 7-inch. So, but yeah, so you were sort of influenced into that kind of thing. And then, so did you make recordings with these bands?
Yeah. We had a band. Yeah, it was called Milk Plus. Obviously, that name was taken from Clockwork Orange. And we did all right. I mean, we used to play in Milton Keynes like everybody else, but I never went to school around here, so I didn't really have like a big kind of group of people that would come and see us. So we'd be playing in, Bletchley Arms in front of our girlfriends and some guy and his dog and stuff like that. So in Milton Keynes, it was just like we weren't really doing much, to be honest. But then we got an offer to play in Paris at a club called the Givers Club, which Motorhead had played.
Well, it sounds exciting.
Yeah, it was, yeah. There was that came through a guy called Graham D. He's like fantastic vocalist. absolutely one of the best singers I've ever met, to be honest. He's actually in the Climax Blues band at the moment. But anyway, he'd played there with his band, whatever his band was called at the time, and he said, "Oh, you guys should try it. You know, it's great. They love the English over there. The French love the English."
Yeah.
So yeah, do you know what I mean? So okay, great. So he did it. Somewhere through him, we got this gig. This was '87 now. I think it's November '87.
That's good. I like my dates. That's good. So November '87.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the 5th because I remember the fireworks going off when we were getting the coach down. But anyway, yeah. So we played there. We did a couple of nights at that place, like a Friday and Saturday night, and we borrowed the other band's gear, and it was unbelievable. It was just like absolutely, yeah. It was like underground, just like a cavern or Hamburg or something. You know what I mean? That sort of deal. And with a load of like 400 crazy Parisians all throwing each other around all over the place, and it was absolutely brilliant. So we came back from Paris thinking, well, it's not us, it's Milton Keynes. I mean, we are all right. It's just where we are. You know, it wasn't really a place where you could really sort of like get any traction. And consequently, we went back in '88 and we went back in '89. The Zebras Club. It was great. Yeah. So we did we released a few cassette demos.
Yes.
Yeah, which I've got.
You have to reissue them for the fans, for the Adrian Stranick fans.
Yeah, actually, do you know what? I listened to them recently, having not listened to them for like 20, 30 years or whatever, and they're actually not as bad as I thought. The problem is, I don't think I realised how important singing in tune was at the time. You know what I mean? I thought it was just a formality. But listening to them now, they're not that bad. It's not as bad as I would expect them to be. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe they're on CD. Somebody's transferred them to CD somewhere, so I might.
So that sort of takes us sort of into the '90s. And obviously you've done the sort of the J.G. Ballard influence writing and stuff. Did you always find yourself going back to a lot of the rock and roll greats in some of your writing, or when we got into the '90s and Britpop and grunge were coming back, what was happening for you then, sort of music-wise, career-wise?
I liked Nirvana, but yeah, in the early '90s, I started listening to the whole sort of underground dance stuff. Yeah, that started getting really interesting around '89, '90. So we started going out to these, you know, like Heaven on Earth and all these kind of big rave type stuff. So I started listening to a lot of that, and I tried to sort of incorporate that sound with rock and roll, with guitars and stuff. I mean, I know a lot of other bands were sort of doing something similar like that, either around that time or a little bit later. Age of Chance, I think, is one that leaps to mind. Gary Clale's Tackhead Tape Machine. The Shaman did a really good album early on called In Gorbachev We Trust. So I was kind of listening to a lot of that stuff. Prince, obviously, was one of the few sort of leftovers from the '80s that I was still really influenced by, because he used a lot of heavy guitars with, you know, like sort of really cold dance, but like electro.
The LM1 drum machine, that drum machine there.
Yeah. So I was really interested in that, and we started a band called Jonathan E, which was okay. We released quite a few. We released about 3 or 4 12-inch singles. We made an album that's never got released. About 3 or 4 of the songs off it got released. But the album in its entirety didn't. But I stuck it on YouTube if anyone's interested in that. It's about an hour.
So this is really interesting. I'm gonna look it up. So what were you called then?
We were called Jonathan E, which is
Jonathan E.
Jonathan E. That was the name of the band. Yeah. So it's basically me and whoever I happened to be working with at the time. The other guy that I was in it with was a guy called Alec Milano, who goes under the name Magic Alec. And he's had a load of records out, and with him I started a label called Capital Heaven. He's still running it, I think. He's still doing it.
Wow.
But they've had loads of tracks out over the years. They're still going. And I guess the high point of that band really was when we supported Big Audio Dynamite in Coventry, in Tokyo.
Cool.
Not Tokyo, in the TikTok, not Tokyo.
The TikTok, yeah.
Yeah, so we did that, which was really good, because we shared a dressing room with Big Audio Dynamite, so it was Mick Jones from the Clash.
Wow.
And it was really nice. We started standing chatting to him and stuff, and I'm like, as I'm chatting to him, I'm thinking, I've got all your records at home, man. Do you know what I mean? It was like
one of those surreal moments.
Yeah, it was really nice as well. We did it. We ended our set with some sample. I can't remember what it was, but it was a sample that kind of rolled on. When we walked off, the sample just carried on. Oh, it was theirs. It was a big Audio Dynamite sample that we just ended the set with. We walked into the dressing room and he's going, "Oh, great set, man. I love your stuff, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "But "I want to get paid for that sample, though." And we goes, "Well, we was hoping you'd sue us so that we'd get all the publicity out of it." He's going, "Oh, no, mate, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that." Because they used a lot of samples, and I think they'd had loads of problems with
clearance,
getting
clearance
for.
Yeah.
He's going, "Oh, mate, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that." But it was great, man.
So that was a good. So that was it. That was sort of in the '90s and stuff. So, the Broadway Twisters, where do they come into the picture? Sort of, have we got some other bands? So were you? There was another band called the Silver Brazilians. Were you in those?
Yeah.
So you fill us in. You fill us in.
Okay. Well, after Jonathan Eade, at the end of the '90s, I was in a band called Environmental Science. That's another story. Played all over the place. Released loads of records, did really well. Then that
Environmental Science. Okay.
Environmental Science. Yeah, we were on Fatboy Slim's label.
Norman Cook. Yeah.
Yeah, we did some gigs with him, and we played all over Europe. That was really good. And then that broke up in about 2000. I don't think I did anything. I started trying to make a film. I was trying to get a film produced for a few years, so I didn't really do much music. And then in 2007, me and a guy called Tony Delahaye, otherwise known as Long John, got together and we started. I've known him for years anyway, and we finally sort of got around to actually doing something together. And so, as a joke, we did a load of demos in the sort of spirit of the Ruttles. So it's a made-up name, the Silver Brazilians. I won't explain what that actually means. If you think about it, you might work it out. Because we were old and, whatever, getting on, And we put a load of spoof tracks on MySpace as a joke. But he was doing some production management for some big event that he was involved in. And he was asked if the Silver Brazilians would like to support the Charlatans. So we thought it was a joke. So he went, yeah, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, we'll support the Charlatans. It's not even a real band. It was just me and him doing demos on MySpace when MySpace was all the rage. And then the NME came out, and there was great big posters, like great big pages saying, Charlatans supported by the Silver Brazilians. It's like, we don't actually have a band. This isn't real. So I had to get my brother, who hasn't played for years, but he's still like probably one of the best drummers in Milton Keynes. You know what I mean? He's absolutely, Keith Moon. But he hadn't played for years, so we had to dig him out. Then we got another guy called Jules Haffergy, amazing bass player. You want to talk to him about Gibsons? He's like the Gibson expert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's the guy. Yeah. So we grabbed those two guys, and they became the rhythm section. We had like 3 weeks to sort it out. And we managed to get a set together, and our first gig was supporting the Charlatans in Shepton Mallet.
Wow.
Shepton Mallet, yeah. So, and that's what started that off. So the following year, we Little Stephen Van Zant's, we recorded an EP, and we'd sent it to Little Stephen Van Zant's underground garage. He's got a radio show, and he was doing the Sopranos at the time. So we sent it to him because they play sort of 60s. Orientated stuff, and they played our track Kate Winslet. It was on like heavy rotation for about 2 months, and I'm still getting money from that now trickling in. You know what I mean? Even 10 years later. But so that was good. And then we did some gigs in Hollywood, and
wow,
that was great. Yeah, that was really good. So that went for about 4 or 5 years, and then when that sort of started to fizzle out, for a joke really, we started the Broadway Twisters. Because it was kind of like I'd come full circle, I started out playing rockabilly, and now I'd come all this way and was sort of doing it again, but a bit more seriously, and that sort of seemed to take off really, fast.
Which brings us on, because you've actually, with the Broadway Twisters, you've had a couple of albums out, haven't you? So tell us about the record. You haven't had any albums out.
No,
okay, you've got an album coming out.
No, we've recorded an album. It's about to come out now. Basically, it went to be pressed in January. But this coronavirus thing's knocks everything sideways, so it's going to be any day now. But it's a long time coming. We should have done it ages ago. Basically, what happened is we started as a band. It was me, a guy called Bill Mann on bass, and a guy called Sam Brunt on drums. We played for a couple of years. It was going great. We were going to record some stuff, and then Sam left. So since then, we've been getting kind of like just drummers just jumping in at the last minute. So it's been a bit sporadic, you know what I mean? We've been playing, you know, sometimes it's busy, sometimes it ain't. Sometimes the drummers ain't been too clever. Most of them have been brilliant, but a lot of them are sort of unreliable. So we haven't been able to get a full run at it. And the idea is, if you go and record an album, you get a great band together, go in and immortalise the band. But it got to a point where we didn't really have a solid band. It was just kind of like, it was only me and Billy that was like, you know,
the regular lineups. Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, so we thought, right, okay, so we recorded 4 tracks with Luke Tuck-Shearer playing drums, who you know, from the Whitebirds and stuff.
Yeah.
So he played on 4 tracks. That was a few years ago now. And then we went in again with another drummer called Pip Malin. We did another 4.
I know
tracks.
Pip. Yeah, good drummer.
Yeah, great drummer. And then we went in with Simon Hansen. I think he plays for Squeeze now, but he used to be in Death in Vegas. So basically, you know, instead of it, so it become a studio project rather than immortalise this band.
So you got three drummers on spread over, say, the 10, 12 tracks.
3 different drummers, yeah. So, but now we've got, you know, sort of, we had 14 tracks or 15 tracks. So we've put 12 on the album. So yeah, it was 12 tracks, 4 different drummers, and it's about to come out now. So it became a studio project because we got like a keyboard player in on a couple of tracks.
And when sort of recording, did you sort of embody any of the spirit of how some of those old rock and roll records were recorded, or was it more of a modern affair? How did you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to meet it halfway. I think the way we went in was quite live and just to get the immediacy. But there's a couple of tracks that are unashamedly inspired by somebody. There's that track that you might have heard that we've done called The Madness of Suzuki Seijun, which is obviously an Eddie Cochran Gaibo. You know, Gaibo was probably one of the first rock and roll bass players. You know that. Sort of trying to replicate what they did on a double bass. He was using it as a guitar, but bass. You know, so that's and that Eddie Cochran did that. So that was obviously an Eddie Cochran nod. There's another track on there called LV Hookers, which is based on a true incident, folks, and it's Chuck Berry. There's another one that's a bit Gene Vincent. The rest of them are sort of us.
So you got your own.
But there's a couple on there that definitely, right, that's a Gene Vincent number, that's an Eddie number, you know.
But that's great. And you put, I mean, so the album's coming out any day now, and you've got quite a following you've built up of the Broadway Twisters, haven't you? So are you going to be pressing this album on vinyl or CD or what's
on vinyl.
Oh, wow. Well, you can put me down for one. I'll buy one off you. So the vinyl was great.
Yeah, great. Yeah, the sooner we sell out the first one, the sooner we can get onto the second one because we've got so many songs, so much material. We just want to get on with it. But yeah, it's going to be 180 gram red vinyl, folks, with a free download card if you want to burn it onto a CD yourself. You know.
That's
we're just waiting for the.
So and just one thing one thing we haven't sort of touched on, like artists and filmmakers, have they influenced your work a lot over time? We've touched on sort of J.G. Ballard. I know you're a fan of Russ Meyer, the filmmaker, and we're both fellow fans of that kind of, the Faster Pussycat, Kill, Lorna, those kind of, arts, sexploitation type of crazy kind of films. Are those sort of films influenced your writing over the years and as well?
Probably. I'll have to go through and think about it now. But yeah, I mean, I've got kind of like a movie sensibility. I think when I write a lot of stuff. Yeah, films. I don't know. I mean, I tried to make a movie a few years ago for Europolis, which in a lot of ways was like a kind of a pastiche of sort of like Japanese sci-fi. All the actors in it were going to have badly dubbed on voices. And, and do it on purpose. Yeah. But
we must go.
Yeah. Well, like the Madness of Suzuki Seijun is obviously about a Japanese film director. He did a movie called Branded to Kill and another one called Tokyo Drift. He did about 99 films. I think he was about 90 odd when he died. And he was still making films right up to when he died. I think his last movie was a film called Glock, not Glock Opera, that's my album. Pistol Opera.
So did you and did you get to make this film? What happened to this film you were going to make with the badly dubbed?
It died on the vine, really. I had a producer, a girl called Kavita Kapoor, and she worked for Channel 4 at the time, so she got me in the door in a lot of places. But I think it was because she was female and Indian that they gave us the time of day, because once we got in there and I started doing my pitch and they realised we were making a kind of a violent, futuristic, Balladian, Lynchian sci-fi movie, they just like nearly choked on their croissants. You know what I mean? They didn't want to know. They thought because they just, because of Kavita, they took one look at her and thought, oh, they're going to be wanting to make Bennett like Beckham. And it's like, no.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like an inverse racism, really. They sort of like looked at us, thought, oh, they're going to make this. It's like, no, we're going to do Kubrick,
They didn't sort of get the vibe.
Yeah, they didn't go for that.
Well, hopefully, maybe one day you'll get another shot of making a movie. So, I mean, so what after obviously all this lockdown stuff is hopefully over sooner than later, what would you like to do with the Broadway Twisters or your music? I know you've done some solo shows. You supported Tab Falco, which was a memorable show when he was at Squires. Are there things you'd like to do? What would you like to do?
Well, we want to get this album out, because, I mean, to be honest, it's only like, I don't know what we can do, like, mail order while we're under this lockdown. So the first thing we want to do is try and get this bloody album sold, There was a gig lined up in Northampton with the Hurricanes and Joe Go-Go, and someone else, I can't remember who it was. I was really looking forward to that gig, so that's going to get rescheduled for September. So I'm hoping that'll be back on, and we'll really hammer it for, like, live gigs, really, to sell this album, because I've got another one ready to go that I want to get on with, and I've been listening to a lot of kind of Americana, acoustic-y sort of stuff, and that's kind of going to be the vibe of the next album.
Cool.
I think. Yeah, it's Noel McKay and Brennan Lee, Sierra Farrell. Have you heard Sierra Farrell?
I'm not so familiar with the work, but I'm always really. The great thing about these kind of interviews and knowing someone like yourself is you can hit me to people I haven't really know the work of, so it's good.
It's definitely a cut above. What about Gillian Welch and Dave Rawlins?
Don't know any of their work, so
I've been listening to.
I'll watch this interview back, and I can listen to all these. I haven't checked them all out. So that's what you're listening to at the moment, then. That's sort of influencing you.
That's what's getting me kind of excited at the moment. Listening to a lot of that stuff, so I'm kind of revisiting a lot of old songs and sort of trying to play them in that style. And surprisingly, a lot of it works. So I wrote a rave anthem back in the 90s called Arise. And I kind of revisited that as a kind of a spaghetti western tune, and it sort of works. So that might be on the next album. I don't know. We'll see.
That's an exciting. That is a real, exciting mix. But that's the great thing about music. It's sort of like talk about the rave scene. A lot of these styles, even though on the face of it they're completely different, but if you get into it, there's a lot of similarities between things. Which you sort of.
Well, a lot of them were kind of like, say rave anthems. They were kind of about drugs, really. But when you sing them again now, they almost sound like religious songs, lyrically, about...
So you can sort of,
Arise.
Arise, yeah.
It's like it can be a rave song, but it works as a kind of...
But we want to say thank you so much, Adrian, for joining us on this... this Wednesday night. I think it's the 6th of May 2020 in the lockdown. Is there anything before we leave that you want to say? Any last words you want to say on this interview for people who might be watching?
Just buy the album and stay safe, or stay alive long enough to buy it.
Yeah, that's a good one. But well, Adrian Stranick, thank you so much for. It's been really great, and feel free to send me anyone you think I should listen to, because you can see, guys, from the back of this man. This guy is a well-read musician with all those records and things, and it's important to listen. So I hope you've had some time to play some records during this lockdown as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you, Adrian, for tuning in, and good luck with everything, and we will see you soon.
And you, mate. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.